You might not think about it this way, but this tiny little green, sometimes black fruit that usually isn't even eaten as a fruit, transformed the ancient world, and still plays a profound role in cuisines and economies to this day. The European olive tree is a species of shrub that enjoys the dry and warm climates of the Mediterranean, which can be found in southern Europe, the Levant, and North Africa. Now, at first glance, this shrub doesn't look particularly impressive. By its size, it's pretty small and the fruit is also pretty tiny. However, these tiny trees produce not only a fleshy fruit, but an oil from those fruits that could be used to fuel kitchens and the bodies of the people of the ancient world. These trees, after all, are more ancient than ancient times, emerging on the evolutionary story around 30 million years ago in the Mediterranean basin. By the time humans had emerged from East Africa and migrated to North Africa, they ate olives off of these trees. These olives probably had larger pits than the ones we eat today. As civilization moved from ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia throughout the rest of North Africa, the Levant, and Greece, various peoples would cultivate these shrubs along the foothills of what make up various nations such as Lebanon, Israel, Syria, Turkey, Greece, Italy, Spain, Tunisia, and Morocco. To this day, olives are a staple part of all of their diets, and olive oil is the most common cooking oil. Remains of olive branches have also been found in the tombs of the pharaohs, like Akhenaten, who was the founder of monotheism. Olive branches were used and offered to the gods, such as Aten, the one true god, for a period of time. Speaking of monotheism, olives became a culinary staple and an icon of various religious significance for another famous group of people, the Israelites. The states of ancient Israel and Judea oftentimes viewed olives not only as a source of cooking oil and table food, but also a source of lighting and, most importantly, religious sacrifices and anointments. The low hills of Levant are perfect for growing olives, which eventually would produce surpluses. With a surplus of olives, you had a bunch of olives lying around that didn't necessarily need to be eaten, but could be used for religious practices. The Hebrew Bible speaks of the 7 species: wheat, barley, both of which are grains, along with the fruit of figs, grapes, pomegranates, dates, and olives. These, alongside goats and sheep, were the lifeblood of the economy, and all 7 of them are commonly featured in the Bible. The Mount of Olives outside of Jerusalem lies east of Old Jerusalem. This area was mentioned numerous times, particularly in the New Testament, and it has been used as a Jewish cemetery, a cemetery that has spanned the course of 3,000 years. We'll go back to that region soon. To the north, in Crete, the first European civilization emerged called the Minoans. This was one of the earliest civilizations to produce oil on a mass scale. I'm talking about olive oil, obviously. The olive oil industry was one of civilization's earliest forms of commercial production. You could argue that olive farmers were in a way the first proto-capitalists, as they sold their surpluses. In Greece, olives became a staple crop alongside grapes and grain. The Mycenaeans on mainland Greece used olive oil for grooming as hair treatment. They also mentioned olives in the Iliad and the Odyssey. By the classical age, the Athenians believed that their city was the origin of olives. They believed that their patron goddess Athena won the rights to the region of Attica, where Athens resides in, by giving olives to Poseidon, the sea god. I wish real estate was that cheap today. One olive tree that lived on the Acropolis was said to have been gifted by Athena herself, a dubious claim of origin, but the tree did survive past the birth of Christ. Moving westward to Roman times, the Latins were also a Mediterranean people, thriving off of olives, figs, grains, and other staple crops of the region. Virgil, who wrote Rome's epic foundational poem, associated olives with the mother goddess of peace, Pax. We still associate the olive branch with peace offerings to this day. Speaking of Pax, there was also a concept of Pax Romana, also known as the Roman peace, in which Romans brought civilization and peace through the use of, ironically, war. War was seen as a means to produce peace, in which Rome subjugated all the quarreling tribes, and thereby there was peace. This is when the use of handing your enemies olive branches was used as a diplomatic token. In the Roman Empire, a new religion would emerge in the aforementioned Levant: Christianity. The olive branch and the dove were combined as symbols of Christ and peace. In the Islamic tradition, the Prophet Muhammad declared the olive tree to be blessed. However, due to geographic concerns, namely the far hotter, drier climate of Arabia, dates ended up playing far more of a significant cultural role. Fast forward to early modern times, and the Spanish and Portuguese would spread olives to other Mediterranean climates in places like Chile and California. Throughout hundreds of years of influence of both Greco-Roman culture and the Abrahamic culture, Western civilization would eventually use these ideas to come out on top and become the dominant cultural civilization on the planet. And the olive branch they use as a symbol of peace, alongside the dove, became the most prominent symbol of peace around the world. Today, the UN flag actually has olive branches around the world. The religious significance has not gone away either. Catholics, Eastern Orthodox Christians, and Jewish people oftentimes use olive oil and various other types of oil in rituals for atonement. For some reason, Protestants don't anoint their pastors with butter, though. Now, we no longer use olives for goat sacrifices to any significant degree, as far as I know, but the olive oil industry still plays a massive role to this day, providing calories, nutrition, and a livelihood for millions upon millions of people throughout the world. Olive oil is still the most commonly produced in the Mediterranean, namely Spain and Italy, and is tied with avocado oil as the healthiest cooking oil. And it's no surprise that Mediterranean diets tend to be some of the healthiest in the world. Its uses are multifunctional, and to this day is used for lighting to some degree, alongside medicine, sanitation, and cosmetics. Today, the largest consumers per capita are unsurprisingly the Greeks. So next time you buy a jar of olives, or a bottle of olive oil, the product you got at Walmart or wherever else you got it transformed the ancient world, and perhaps you are blessed by the gods.